Hello, welcome back to the Narcotic and Scientology Chronicles. I'm Lucas Catton, and I wanted to talk about Scientology's infamous Regges and Regging. And if you're not aware, that's their term from the people that are asking you for money. Now, on the organizing board, on the org board for Scientology, it comes under most of them come under Division Two, and the Department of Registration, and so that's where the word Regging or Regges, that's where they come from, is registration. And it's the people in Scientology whose job is to get money from you for various things. And there's all kinds of Regges in Scientology. Now, a little side note, in Narconon, separately, most of the Regges are in Division 6B, the public divisions, because they're not re-signing services. But in Scientology, Division 2 Regges, because they keep coming back asking you for more money. And that's how it goes. So there's been a lot of times where when I was involved and people that I knew, things like that, that stood out as memorable moments of just, they have a term for it, they call crush regging, where they just don't stop, don't give up until they get some money from you. And there's all kinds of them. You know, there are certainly those. There's IAS Regges, which is International Association of Scientologists, that raise money for these other slush funds and other campaigns that they do supposedly and things like that. And I'll do a separate video about that and how the IS and its connection to Narconon specifically, but also some stories along that line. But some of the things that were very memorable for me that were just left horrible tastes in my mouth, and actually I know that drove lots of people away from Scientologists because they can't stop asking you for money, and that's really what is their driving force. You know, that's what they do. They ask for money, and even to the point where they had people whose job wasn't to get money from you, that they still had to do their regular job and then come and after hours get money from people, either selling books through what the infamous 2007 Basics campaign that came out, and then the re-released lectures, the ACCs, which are the advanced clinical courses, and what they called the golden age of knowledge, and all these videos and DVDs and all that stuff that basically Hubbard's word vomit that he continued. So Regging, Regging was horrible. I'll give you some examples. I wrote down a couple so I wouldn't forget them. Okay, when I lived in Clearwater, this was like actually the height and the worst parts of all of it was living in Clearwater, because people would just show up at your house randomly, day or night, and knock on your door and say, "Hey, I'm so and so. I'm with the church. I'm with Flag. I'm with Tampa. I'm with whatever part of Scientology. I'm an FSM." Field staff member, I'm something. I'm here to ask you for money, or I'm here to give you a briefing. That's code word for I'm here to ask you for money, and so that would just happen. There was one time this guy Howard Becker showed up. It was like 9 o'clock at night. I hear a knock at the door. I open the door and he goes, "Hey, I need to come in and talk to you. COB just issued this order that we have to get $500,000 this week from people." Just for a specific campaign that he's doing. This was 2009, I believe, that came out. Whatever that specific campaign was, I don't remember. But he sat down and he was just a regular guy. He was an FSM. He showed up and he had a Sea Org member with him, and he sat down at the table and started hammering away about how he wasn't going to leave until I gave him some money. And so, reluctantly at that time, I was still a very frustrated yet true believer. And gave him some money. I think I gave him $500 or something like that. There's other time where there's people in the Chaplains Office where we're having difficulties as a family, and I was really, really starting to run against things and really hate a lot of stuff that was happening within the organization and to people, and this specifically, the money, the regging part, where people came over that were supposedly helping, like part of the chaplain's office, that their job is not to raise money. But at the end of it, they pulled me aside and go, "Hey, it's late at night," and they'd be like, we can't go back without money." I'm like, what do you mean you can't go back without money? They're like, "Yeah, we can't make special trips to people's house like this and chit chat and not come back with money. Like, you have to give us some money." And And it was like this whole setup, that, hey, we're going to come and be friendly and talk to you about different things, but oh, by the way, you have to give us money. And it would be like that all the time. So some other ones, Phil Hart was the executive director of Narcotic International. He would call up sometimes with people from ABLE, Scientology org, ABLE, Association for Better Living and Education, and he would be like, "Hey, I've got Gwenda on the phone, or Kit Whittle, who was the executive director for a while of ABLE, and Gwenda Byrne was Department of Special Affairs." He'd be like, "Hey, I've got them on the phone, and listen, we need some money for a book campaign. Can you donate some books, or can you donate some basics sets for a Narconon Center somewhere? Can you give us some money?" And be like, "Really?" So the Church of Scientology is having the executive director of Narconon International call people who, at the time I was a Narconon FSM, call other people associated with Narconon to get them to donate books. And then one time, Kit Whittle from ABLE actually called me, and she said, "Hey, Luke, we need donations for basics books and lecture sets for all the Narconon centers, especially Narconon Hawaii. Narconon Hawaii really needs them." But what she didn't know is that I just talked to the director of Narconon Hawaii literally the day before, who told me they had an entire closet full of donated books and lectures, because these people would call up and give the same spiel to people like me, thinking that, oh, these poor people out in Hawaii can't afford to get basics books and lecture sets for all their staff, which was total BS. They had a closet full of them. They were trying to give them away. They were trying to sell them to other people and make some money off of it. That's just what they did. There's other ones. Bob Adams, former NFL player, was the vice president of ABLE International, and then he got a promotion to be one of the vice presidents or spokespeople in the President's Office for Church of Scientology International through OSA, the Office of Special Affairs. And he called me up one day. And now, this particular day, I was like, I had a foot and a half out the door. I was getting ready to be declared a suppressive person. And so I was suspect that he was calling me on my cell phone, out of the blue, the vice president of the Church of Scientology International calling me going, "Hey, Luke, hey, listen, we're doing a book campaign, and we really need some extra donations for libraries." And I was like, "What?" First of all, I was scared. I thought he was calling to, harass me about something else, but no, it was just typical Scientology harassment for money. We'll just send this NFL guy who we've now made an indentured servant, who then now we're going to make call people like me for money. Like that's what he was reduced to. It was really sad. And so there's tons of these, and just example after example after example. And one of the things that helped drive my parents away, and was just something that really infuriated me, was as they were trying to collect money for the new church in Atlanta and trying to push people for donations, which is, by the way, still empty. But they're really trying to hit people hard. They sent somebody unannounced an hour and a half outside of the city to show up at their house, knocked on the door at 10 o'clock at night. They live in the mountains, mind you, of North Georgia. This dude showed up out of nowhere at their house 10 o'clock at night asking for money, asked them for $50,000. And they think this is like normal. This is what people should do. And it was absolutely ridiculous. Obviously, or thankfully, not obviously, but thankfully, my parents turned him away and said, "No, you can't come in, and no, we're not giving you any money. Goodbye." And and I was proud that they did that. And that was one of the, like, all of this Regging activity, all this. If you hear that term Regging anywhere, know that you're talking to a Scientologist. But all this activity that was just incessant search for money was one of the biggest factors for me beginning to look to see what else was going on out there, and then to find stuff in the Tampa Bay Times, back then the St. Pete Times, but all these other things that started to unravel as I began to search that said, things are even way more messed up than I realized, and helped facilitate the way out. So classic Scientology, they shot themselves in the foot and helped drive members away, as they continue to do so while they're rapidly shrinking today. And so thank you for that crush Regging, and thank you for all the debt that I accumulated over the years. It taught me a lot of resilience. So that's it for this particular this particular story. Stay tuned. Like I said, I'm going to do another one about the IAS specifically in Narconon. Take care.